What if I told you that Patriot militias are, even now as we speak, taking over what is perhaps the bluest of all blue states? It's true. And it's got liberal Democrats realizing it, and they're freaking out. We're going to take a look, a deep dive into the amazing Patriot movement that's sweeping political offices in one of the most liberal states in the nation. And if you stick with me to the very end of this video, I'll show you why what they're doing in this state is about to be replicated all throughout the nation. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. It's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, helping to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And before we begin, gang, in less than 2 weeks, I'm releasing my new documentary, The Return of the American Patriot, The Rise of Pennsylvania, all across the world virtually. I made this documentary to encourage and inspire patriots all over the world to stand unified against the tyranny of big government and reinstate faith, family, and freedom at every level of society, which means this movie was made to encourage and inspire you like never before. You don't want to miss this one. Right now, if you click on that link below, you can pre-purchase the movie before it's released on September 15th for 25% off. So don't wait. Pre-purchase now, and I'll send you an invite to join me for the virtual premiere on September 15th. Remember, not only are you buying a movie, but you're showing the left that patriots are rising up in defiance of tyranny, and we will not be stopped. Click on that link below, or go to the returnoftheamericanpatriot.com to pre-purchase your movie for 25% off right now. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. There is a fascinating development that's been happening under the radar of late, and it promises to change the political order in our nation in a way many of us would never have imagined. Patriot militias are surging now to such a point that they are actually poised to take over the bluest of the blue states in our nation, and that is none other than California. There have been a number of articles, actually rather panicked articles, by the mainstream media reporting on a stunning development in a number of counties in the Golden State, where what they call the far right are indeed taking over the highest political offices in the county. It all started in rural Northern California, in Shasta County, about 3 hours north of Sacramento. Now, Shasta County has always been a reliably conservative Republican county. Nearly 70% of its residents voted to recall California Governor Gavin Newsom, right? Gruesome Newsom. But while the county has always been reliably conservative in terms of its citizens, its political leaders were not necessarily ultra-MAGA, explicitly patriot-based representatives dedicated to the defense and promotion of the eternal values of faith, family, and freedom. But all of that changed with the coming of COVID mandates. One of the members of the Board of Supervisors for Shasta County, a Republican and former police officer named Leonard Modi, was targeted for recall by 3 groups extremely influential in Shasta County politics: Second Amendment supporters, COVID-19 mandate opponents, and what's known as the State of Jefferson movement, which is a collection of counties in Northern California that want to create their own state and secede from larger California. Modi's crime, as far as his constituents concerned, he was a rhino, a Republican in name only. He was weak-kneed in the face of the draconian mandates coming down from Sacramento, and he refused to push back. So he allowed businesses to be shut down and the community adversely affected. But other than that, he was a relatively reliable Republican, but not in MAGA country, where timidity and cowardice are never rewarded. Modi was resoundingly defeated, and the Board of Supervisors successfully secured a supermajority of members, all backed by the Cottonwood Militia, which is a local chapter of the larger California state militia. So it's a highly self-sufficient political model with their own citizen-based law enforcement and county politicians. Now, that would be a very interesting story in of itself. Ordinary citizens rising up, taking their county back from leaders who they believe represented the values, interests, and concerns of the status quo, right, rather than the values, interests, and concerns of the people. Patriot groups, along with patriot militias, banding together, successfully electing a government that's representative of their values of faith, family, and freedom. All good. But that's not where this story ends. You see, the organizers of this Patriot revolt, as it were, put together a blueprint of how they took back their county. It's called Red, White, and Blueprint. It's actually an organization founded by a fellow by the name of Carlos Zapata, a retired Marine, a militia member, and restaurateur who's been busy recruiting neighboring counties to implement the Red, White, and Blueprint strategy to take over their respective governments and take back their localities. And that's exactly what's happening. In neighboring Nevada County, where Trump won by a 15-point margin, they've initiated their own recall efforts modeled after Shasta County to get rid of all their rhinos on their board of supervisors. But it gets even better. This Red, White, and Blueprint is now being utilized to overthrow county school boards all across California and indeed increasingly around the nation. So what's going on here? Well, we're going to find out that all of this is happening because of a new massive development that promises that Shasta County is really just the beginning. But first, gang, with possible lockdowns coming our way via monkeypox, my good friend Josh Zaglowski, co-founder of ERC Specialists, is making sure that you and your business can thrive. His business, ERC Specialists, is a specialty payroll company exclusively dedicated to understanding and maximizing the CARES Act employee retention credit. That's what ERC stands for, Employee Retention Credit for small businesses affected negatively by shutdowns. If you're a small business owner looking to get up to $26,000 per employee back from bumbling Biden wasting it, click the link in the description below to see if you qualify today. It's an absolutely astonishing opportunity. So what is going on here? Well, at one level, what we're seeing here is a very significant development known as ReTerritorialization. Okay, it's a fancy schmancy word to describe the process by which political power and involvement is increasingly returning to the local. You see, in a highly globalized world, as we've been experiencing over the last few decades, inevitably political life gets increasingly deterritorialized. It gets dislodged and disembedded from the local, and it gets increasingly centralized around a permanent political class whose values, interests, and concerns have grown increasingly alienated from the values, interests, and concerns of local communities. What's been happening of late is that we're seeing a massive backlash against globalism and its centralizing processes, such that more and more populations are re-embracing their local identity markers, their own cultures, their customs, their traditions, their unique ways of life, as mechanisms of resistance against the anti-cultural processes of globalization and its secular aristocracy. And that, I would argue, is exactly what we're seeing here in these California counties. They're drawing from highly self-reliant structures and local frames of reference to assert a kind of practical independence from the radical absurdities that they see represented in coming out of Sacramento. And they're doing it very, very effectively, and are thus serving as a model for other counties, both inside and outside California, to effect comparable results in their respective spheres. And we can only expect this trend to grow. And you can really sense the alarm among many of the reports on the Red, White, and Blueprint movement. The left-wing activists disguised as journalists hardly hide their sense of panic that this really seems to be working and spreading among counties that are taking back their political party, turning their local Republican parties into ultra-MAGA parties, and they're beginning to implement the self-reliant holistic model in their respective spheres. And the question that these leftist reporters are asking, how far is this movement really going to go? Well, if larger social dynamics have anything to say about it, let's just say we ain't seen nothing yet. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, and you will definitely want to check out my latest video on FBI whistleblowers exposing everything as the DOJ begins to panic. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on that link, and I will see you over there. God bless.